Hey you guys, welcome back to Beam Your Light. I'm back with another word. I tried to record this video and the distractions, you guys, were ridiculous. And so this is like my second attempt at making this video. And so the word is gonna get out, you guys. Okay, so one message that God has been sharing with me today, more so today, is about comparison and what happens when we are comparing ourselves to the ungodly, anything that does not serve the Lord, that doesn't have God. And so I want to read 2 Corinthians chapter 10 verses 12 in the NIV translation. And it says, "We do not dare to classify or compare ourselves with some who commend themselves." And commend here means to praise. So it says, we do not dare to classify or compare ourselves with some who praise themselves. When they measure themselves by themselves and compare themselves with themselves, they are not wise. And so I want to talk about this because in a world, we're living in a fast-paced world. We have social media, we have trends, we have TikTok, we have all these little outlets, we have all these kinds of things. We must not forget who we are in Christ. And so the thing is that, God, he claims us, he labels us, he tells us who we are through his spirit, through his word. And he says that we are fearfully and wonderfully made in his image. He tells us that we are like him in his image. And so when we are like him in his image, then we are not like the world. And so the way the world's set up, the way the enemy works, is that he wants us to live in doubt and fear and discouragement and living in measurements that were never for us, never called for us. And so when God says, don't measure yourself to people that measure themselves by themselves, when people are prideful and they say like they're the smartest or they know it all or they're never wrong, these are people to actually not take advice from, to maybe stay a little bit away from, because it's their perception of what they think about themselves, their perception of what they think about other people, their perception of what they think about life in general. And so oftentimes if someone is grounded on God and his foundation and his faithfulness and what God says about us and his word and the fruits of his spirit and his kind, everything about God, when someone is rooted and grounded in that, that's a good thing, because then they're going to have the knowledge of Christ. They're going to flow through his spirit and his faithfulness. And so I want to read it again for you guys, because this is a whole lot about comparison. "We do not dare to classify or compare ourselves with some who commend themselves. When they measure themselves by themselves and compare themselves with themselves, they are not wise." And God is clearly showing us here a prideful spirit, a spirit that thinks that they're above, and a person that thinks that they are, it's a very prideful spirit, to be honest. They are not wise. So don't take advice from people that don't have it, that don't even have the Lord. I know this is probably something that may be new information to some of you guys, but in reality, if you really, really think about it, we are constantly being fed things, whether it's through music, whether it's through social media, whether it's through family, whether it's through relationships. We're being fed. So you want to make sure that your cup is being poured the right things, the right stuff. And I know life happens, circumstances happen, but even in those circumstances, you have to have the wisdom of God, because to function in this life and our callings, it is to serve, it is to give, it is to walk in the image of the Lord and his mindset and his heart posture. And so when people are all about themselves and they're holier than thou, and they're mightier, and they do no wrong, they're not wise. And so it's best to really go to the word of God. It's so important to pray at all times, and test the spirits behind things and people and spaces. You'll know someone loves God because of their fruit. God says you will know a good tree by their good fruit, and a bad tree by their bad fruit. So God tells us to see these things and to be wise, and to not be affiliated with darkness, and do not be affiliated. Do not mix light with darkness. It doesn't, he goes, you can't put salt and sugar together. They're two different things. And so, yeah, I wanted to share this because I know, like, in a world that there's a lot of comparison, there's a lot of races, you guys, but not every race is of the Lord. You know, God says, run your race with his endurance, of his knowledge, of his truth, of his word, of his heart. Because when we do that, we are running our race to the kingdom and in the kingdom. And all other races are leading nowhere. So I just wanted to share this with you guys. I love you guys so much, and I'll talk to you guys soon.